And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. There are three ways in which we can take this verse, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good. Three ways we can take this passage out of context. And some of this is redundant, but the first one is this: when we ignore the implications of prolonged suffering found in the text. When we look at this, here's typically how we deal with it in the American church. God's going to fix it tomorrow. Everything's going to work for good. All this problem you're having, it's working for your good. Tomorrow, the problem will be gone. That is not what this verse promises. This is the way we interpret it. This is the way we use it. We counsel people who are finding themselves in a difficult point and meaning well. We say, God's going to fix it. He's working for your good. And tomorrow, you can expect it to be different. It is very important for us to see that this passage is not promising that the suffering that you and I might be going through is going to end immediately, with a clear understanding of its purpose. One of the things we've talked about and we've touched on before, the book of Job tells this story about Job's incredible trial, and never is there an explanation. Not one verse does God ever say why Job had to go through it. And the good that we would see in Job is not something he saw immediately. And this is the challenge and the problem many people have when we come to this verse. We look at it and see a period of a prolonged suffering, not an immediate fix. One of the passages that's often used from the book of Genesis on this subject of God turning bad into good is Genesis chapter 50, where Joseph says to his brothers, you meant evil, but God meant it for good. God is going to turn bad into good. He's going to turn evil into good. He's going to take what the devil does and make it for your benefit. That's a wonderful and absolutely true. But here's what we miss. That statement is made by Joseph 25 years after he was sold into captivity by his brothers. It was God working for good, but it was not something that happened overnight or the next day. It was 2 decades between the time that he's 17-year-old teenager sold into captivity by his brothers and then imprisoned in Egypt for his determination to be sexually pure. It was 2 decades before he was able. And when his brothers come, if you know the story, he weeps in secret because of the anguish he has experienced. Yes, God worked it for good. No, it did not happen the day after the problem came to your life. And this is where we get it wrong. We try to say it's going to be fixed today. It'll be all right tomorrow. And we cannot use this verse to make that promise. Now, it's a lot here, and I've got to stay with the scripture. But please hear this. I also want to remind you quickly that we must hear the scripture in the ears of the people who first heard it. The Christians dying in the Colosseum of Rome would not have heard this verse as a word of everything in your life is going to be better tomorrow. I'm going to be dead tomorrow. I'm going to be dead tomorrow at the hands of lions tearing me apart or a gladiator spearing me. Don't talk to me about immediate good. God's working this for your good. Look at the people dying in the arena. Look at the Christians who have died through the centuries for their faith. And utter this word. It's going to be for your good. It is for your good. But it is eternal good that Paul is aiming at. Not temporary. Everything will be better tomorrow. Good. And this is one of the ways we take the scripture out of its proper context.